The ballroom shimmered under golden chandeliers, glasses clinking, laughter echoing, and 100 conversations buzzing over the soft hum of string music. Then her voice cut through it all. "Let's all raise a glass to my big sister Lauren." 300 eyes swiveled toward me. I froze at table 12, the so-called singles table, surrounded by cousins I barely recognized. 38 years old. Single. No engagement ring. No man. No flashy accomplishments that sparkled in family gossip. Just me. Claire's laugh floated above the room, bright, rehearsed, dazzling. She was always the showstopper. And me? Invisible. The man next to me shifted uncomfortably. Then, surprisingly, he spoke. "Actually," he began, rising from his chair, "I should probably introduce myself." I cleared my throat, steadying the storm of nerves in my chest. "I'm Lauren. 38. For as long as I could remember, I'd been the reliable one, the sister who paid tuition checks, who dropped everything for family emergencies, who smiled and said yes when everyone else said no. I'd convinced myself that showing up meant being loved, being valued, being seen. But they never looked at me the way they looked at Claire. To them, I was the safety net. To me, she was family. Claire had always been effortless, magnetic, the kind of person who collected admirers like postcards. At 26, she got engaged to a wealthy real estate developer with a yacht and a trust fund. My parents celebrated as though the stock market had just skyrocketed. Meanwhile, I was building a career in public policy, drafting legislation, managing campaigns, advising officials. But at every Sunday dinner, my victories were invisible. Conversations always revolved around Claire. Her wedding, her Instagram, her perfect, curated life. I swallowed my pride, smiled politely, and kept my achievements quiet because it was easier than explaining. But years of silence have a cost. And I was about to let them see it. It began subtly. Claire graduated with a marketing degree she never really used. I paid off $28,000 of student loans. She promised repayment. It never came. Instead, she moved into a Brooklyn loft I helped furnish, launched a small influencer brand, and called me whenever her rent was short. I always said yes. That's what older sisters do, right? Family gatherings only reinforced the imbalance. Mom gushed over Claire's latest boutique brand deal while I passed the mashed potatoes, quietly proud of the education reform bill I had just drafted. Dad casually always asked, "Are you seeing anyone?" And when I said no, he nodded, almost as if confirming what he already thought. My worth was measured in romantic attachments, not accomplishments. When Claire got engaged, the family group chat blew up. 200 messages in an hour, flooding my phone with champagne emojis, congratulations, and invasive questions. I sent a heart emoji, muted the thread, and quietly endured. Wedding planning swallowed every conversation, every Sunday dinner. I offered to help coordinate vendors, my experience in high-pressure campaign logistics forgotten. "You're so busy, Lauren. Don't worry about it. Just show up and try to have fun for once." Claire waved me off. Fun. Her life was a party. Mine, a grind. 3 months before the wedding, Claire called with a request. Her voice sharp, rehearsed. "Can you cover the rehearsal dinner? The venue quoted $12,000. We're a little tight after the honeymoon deposit." A little tight. She had just posted photos from Tulum, suitcase brimming with designer bags. "Claire, I've already given you," I began. "I know. I'll pay you back. Please." "It's my wedding," she interrupted. And I transferred the money. Of course I did. I always did. Then came Thursday night, 6 weeks before the wedding. My phone buzzed. "Claire, we need to talk about your +1, she said. "My RSVP was solo." "I know, but Mom said you might bring someone." "I just want to be clear, don't bring a random guy just to prove a point. I can't have drama. This is my day. People will notice if you're trying to look not pathetic." Pathetic. Her words hit like ice. I dropped the phone. Years of being dependable, invisible, the silent caretaker, all boiled down to a single sharp insult. I didn't answer. I didn't scream. I just opened my contacts and dialed a number I hadn't called in months. "Lauren, everything okay?" His voice was calm, familiar. "I need a favor. Big one. I wouldn't call if it wasn't serious." Silence. Then quietly, "What is it?" 2 days later, Governor James Mitchell RSVP'd as my +1. Claire had never asked who I was bringing. And that, my friends, is where the real story begins. Don't forget to subscribe for more stories like this. Comment below what you would have done in this situation. And if you're enjoying this story, give it a like, it really helps the channel. The first blow came at the bridal shower. Claire had rented a trendy private room in Manhattan, 60 women, bottomless mimosas, a gift table that looked like a luxury store had exploded. I arrived carrying a KitchenAid mixer, the top-of-the-line one she'd registered for, and a card I'd spent 20 minutes pouring my thoughts into. She tore the card open, glanced at it, and then set it aside. Just like that. A polite smile, a quick nod, and she moved on. Meanwhile, her future mother-in-law handed her a set of monogrammed luggage, and Claire's eyes shimmered with emotion. So thoughtful. I can't believe you remembered, she gushed. I had been funding her travels for 3 years, quietly making her dreams possible. Yet my effort evaporated into the background, unnoticed, unthanked. Later, during the toast, Mom stood, voice full of pride. I'm so proud of Claire. She's always known what she wanted, fearless, ambitious, and unafraid to chase it. I caught her glance. Did she notice me? No. Not a nod. Not a smile. Not a single acknowledgement. I blended into the wallpaper of the room, my contributions invisible, as if I'd never existed. The rehearsal dinner hit harder. $12,000 for a waterfront venue, oysters, champagne, and a string quartet. The kind of elegant, unforgettable experience Claire insisted upon. On my credit card, her maid of honor, some influencer with millions of followers, gave a speech that practically worshipped Claire's brilliance. She didn't settle, she said. She waited for the right person, the right moment, the perfect life. I sat there, quiet, the words floating like smoke. No one mentioned me. No one noticed that I'd quietly made this night possible. Then came the seating disaster. After the speeches, Claire cornered me near the bar. Table 12 for the reception, she said casually. Table 12. My heart sank. Yeah, some of Michael's cousins and a few family friends. I know you don't know them, but we're running out of room. You're coming solo, so... She trailed off, dismissive. Don't make this a thing. Please. The singles table. The place for people you're obligated to invite, but don't actually want present. The place for the invisible, the overlooked. It wasn't just humiliation. It was systematic erasure. And then the final straw. 1 week before the wedding, a text. Hey, can you cover the bar tab? Open bar for $318,000. Miscalculation. I'll pay you back after the honeymoon. $18,000. Casual. Like borrowing a scarf. I called her. My voice calm but steely. Claire, I've given you over $50,000 for this wedding. Not once have you said thank you. Not at the shower, not at the rehearsal dinner. And now this. Her voice went cold. Wow. So this is what it's about? Gratitude? You want me to grovel because you helped me? You're being dramatic. Dramatic. I repeated. You called me pathetic. You told me not to bring a date because I'd look pathetic. Those were your words. I'm not asking for groveling, I want to be seen. Exasperated, she snapped. Look, I don't have time for this. Are you covering the bar or not? And for a moment I hesitated. I should have said no. I should have drawn a line that burned. But instead I transferred the money. Later that night, I scrolled through Claire's Instagram. A carousel of wedding prep photos. Lavish decorations, smiles, hashtags. And her caption stung. 1 week until I marry my best friend. So grateful for this journey. Everyone except my sister who funded it. I texted James Mitchell. Still good for Saturday? Wouldn't miss it. He replied instantly. This was it. My chance, not to humiliate, not for revenge, but to finally be seen. Claire had no idea. No one knew the truth about me. The past 8 years in the governor's office. Deputy Chief of Staff, crisis management, policy drafts that changed lives, negotiating with senators, coordinating statewide strategies. Every major initiative, I'd had a hand in making it happen. And James? He knew. He had watched me rise while my family overlooked me. Lauren, you sure about this? James asked that night over the phone, concern lacing his tone. Once we do it, there's no going back. Your family will ask questions. Your sister will be furious. I stared at the bridesmaid dress hanging in the closet. My uniform of invisibility. I thought about years of being unseen, underappreciated, the quiet ledger of support I'd kept. I'm ready, I said. Okay, he said softly. I'll meet you at the venue. And in that moment something shifted. I wasn't the invisible sister. I wasn't the silent benefactor. I was the woman who had quietly shaped policy in one of the most powerful offices in the state. And tomorrow at Claire's perfect wedding, I was about to step into the light. Don't forget to subscribe for more stories like this. Comment below what you would have done if you were in Lauren's shoes. And if this story is keeping you on the edge of your seat, give it a like, it really helps the channel. The day of the wedding arrived, and the mansion overlooking the Hudson gleamed under a soft winter sun. Twinkling lights hung from every tree, the 5-tier cake sparkled like it belonged in a magazine, and 300 guests in black tie moved through the gardens, murmuring about Claire's flawless taste. I sat at table 12, exactly where Claire had placed me, far from the head table, far from my family, surrounded by strangers making polite small talk about weather, traffic, and fashion. 20 minutes into the reception, James arrived. He texted me first, apologizing for being late. He'd been stuck in a last-minute budget meeting. When he walked in, security detail subtle, suit tailored, he moved with quiet authority. A few heads turned, curious, but he kept his presence calm and understated. He slid into the chair next to me, squeezing my hand under the table. You okay? He whispered. I nodded, heart racing. I wasn't nervous, just ready. Ready for the world to finally see me. The ceremony had been breathtaking. Claire floating down the aisle, $8,000 dress glinting under the sunlight, Michael waiting with tears in his eyes, my parents beaming like proud peacocks. I had stood at the back with the bridesmaids, invisible, silent, while my sister collected every moment of praise. Every smile, every tear, every glance from the room belonged to her. And now the speeches were beginning. Best man, maid of honor, father, all beautifully scripted, rehearsed, perfect. And then Claire herself raised the microphone, champagne flute glinting, smile radiant. I just want to take a moment to thank everyone who made this day possible, she began. I leaned back slightly, expecting the usual parents, friends, fiancé. And then that slow pause, scanning the room. Her eyes landed on me. And of course my big sister Lauren, who's here tonight, she said, voice bright, practiced, almost teasing. Still single at 38, no ring, no man, nothing to show for it. But hey, at least she made it, right? The room rippled with laughter. Polite, awkward, curious. I felt 300 eyes on me, pity, amusement, judgment. My chest tightened for a fraction of a second. And then, James set down his glass, stood, and the laughter evaporated. Actually, he said, calm and steady, I should probably introduce myself. Claire froze. Murmurs ran through the crowd. Phones appeared, whispers spread like wildfire. James walked toward the head table, authority in every step. Claire handed him the microphone, confused, face paling. Good evening, everyone, James began. I'm James Mitchell, governor of New York. And I'm Lauren's date tonight. Gasps. Whispers. Cameras out. My mother's hand flew to her mouth. My father looked stunned. Claire's face drained of color. I've had the privilege of working with Lauren for the past 8 years, James continued. She's my deputy chief of staff. She's brilliant, strategic, and the reason countless policies we've passed actually work. She drafts legislation, manages crises, negotiates with senators, she keeps our office, and in many ways our state, running. He turned to me, gaze steady. Lauren isn't here because she has nothing to show for her life. She's here because she shows up for people who often fail to see her. And I think it's time that changed. Silence. Thick, suffocating, deafening. Claire's mascara began to smudge. Michael leaned over, whispered something. My parents looked like statues. I stood slowly, meeting my sister's eyes one last time. Enjoy your reception, Claire, I said quietly. It's already paid for. And then I walked out. James at my side. 300 guests turned to watch the pair of us leave, whispers trailing behind like shadows. My father's voice cracked, calling my name. I didn't look back. The fallout was immediate. Claire called 19 times that night, followed by dozens of texts, rage, panic, desperation. How could you do this? You ruined everything. Everyone is talking about you instead of me. Mom tried to intervene. Dad looked helpless. I didn't respond. Words weren't enough. 2 days later, my parents appeared at my apartment. Mom, eyes red, voice trembling. You embarrassed her on her wedding day. She embarrassed me first, I said simply. For years you all watched and you said nothing. I shouldn't have to beg to be seen. I laid it out. Every loan Claire never repaid, every expense I covered, every moment I was erased while funding her life. Their silence finally cracked. They left without another word. 3 months later, a single text from Claire. I'm sorry. 2 words. Years too late. I didn't reply. Because what I gained wasn't an apology, it was clarity. Recognition. Proof that refusing to shrink, refusing to fade into the background, can finally make you visible. I was still deputy chief of staff. I was still shaping policies that mattered. And for the first time in a room full of people who had overlooked me, I had taken up the space I deserved. Some spend their whole lives making themselves smaller to fit someone else's story. Fewer learn to take up space. I had learned. Don't forget to subscribe for more stories like this. Comment below what you would have done if you were in Lauren's shoes. And if this story gave you chills or made your heart race,